song. For every bomb that flies, I'd sing each and all the days. If there were to be a verse for every dying child's cries, for every helpless father's gaze.
Bringing peace and social justice issues into your living room, piece by piece. My name is Pat Miner, and I'll be your host this evening, and we have a very special guest with us this evening. And I call him Abed. He will tell you exactly what his name is, and the name of his organization is Al-Rawad. I did okay with that, okay, right? And he's going to tell us what he's been doing in Palestine. As you know, as most of our viewers know by now, there have been many ongoing issues in Palestine, and Abed's doing what he can to make things better for the Palestinian children. You want to introduce yourself?
Thank you,
Tell
Pat.
us what your full name is.
Oh, my full name is Abdel Fattah Abdel Karim Hassan Ibrahim Muhammad Ahmad Mustafa Ibrahim Sroor Abu Sroor. This is in fact 10 generations, and I was the first to be born in a refugee camp where we are actually. It's Aida refugee camp, north of Bethlehem, south of Jerusalem.
Yeah, to be, in the interest of full disclosure, I have been to Aida refugee camp 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of 59 refugee camps which were established after what we call Nakba, or catastrophe, in 1948, after the ethnic cleansing and forced leave for about 70% of Palestinians who became refugees. So the UN, which was at the origin of the partition of Palestine into 2 unequal parts at that time, started renting lands and registering these refugees. So 19 refugee camps were established on the West Bank, 8 in Gaza, 10 in Jordan, 10 in Syria, and 12 in Lebanon. And so Aida is one of the 3 in Bethlehem area. It has actually a population of 6,000 people. About 2/3 are under 24 years old, without playgrounds or green spaces, surrounded by this illegal wall of expansion and annexation, and with 5 towers of snipers, cameras of surveillance, and until today incursions by the Israeli army. So I guess the idea was how we can save lives and inspire hope in such time of death and despair and continuous violence, because unfortunately our Nakba, or catastrophe, did not end in 1948 or 1967 after the second occupation, or after what is called peace process of Oslo, or even until today. It has been going on since then, and it still goes on. So I was born in this refugee camp, and I was one of the lucky people to get a scholarship to continue my studies in France, where I got my master and PhD in biological and medical engineering. My heart was also with painting, with photography, with theater. So it was also a great opportunity to develop my artistic work, but mostly a discovery of who I was. When I had the scholarship, I had to apply for a permit from the Israeli military administration at that time in the West Bank. That was in 1984. And my permit was rejected 6 times. It took a year to finally get it on the 7th time, which means we continue, we never give up, and so on. Sumud, continuous resilience against the facts on the ground created by this occupation. So I arrived in France, and at that time we did not have Palestinian passports. We had temporary Jordanian passports. I didn't have that at that time, or Israeli travel documents. And in these Israeli travel documents, they put us as nationality Jordanian. So we are not recognized as Palestinians at that time. So when I arrived in France, I went to do my residency card, and the French police put me as nationality Jordanian refugee under Israeli mandate. So I really was not happy with that, and said, well, I am not really a Jordanian who fled the dictatorship of Jordan to be in the beautiful democracy of Israel. I am a Palestinian refugee under Israeli occupation. So that created a long debate, and a few hours later, the director came, okay, monsieur, come back tomorrow. And when I came back the next day, they gave me this residency card with nationality to be determined. So I guess the irony of it is that who will determine that on one side?
Right.
And the second thing, that we are people who are under occupation, who have a legitimate right to resist the occupation. Some people chose armed struggle, but almost 99% of Palestinian people never carried a gun in their life. And they resisted through a lot of creative and non-armed ways. And when you look at the different stages of our history, I mean, occupation one after the other, and people resisted. Even when it was the Ottoman Empire, people resisted because it was an injustice. It wasn't a war against Islam. I am a Muslim. So people resisted the occupation by whoever it is made. When the British were here, Christian, we also resisted because it was an injustice. It wasn't against the Christians.
Right.
And when Israel was created, we resisted, even presenting themselves as Jewish, because it was an injustice, not because they are Jews. So this is not a religious war, it's a political colonization war. And Palestine was always a country of multiplicity and diversity, where Muslim, Christian, Jews, whatever, have lived as Palestinians. So it's not that Muslims want to kill Christians and Jews and everybody wants to kill everybody. But of course Israel wants to
it's very simple, and that's an important point to make to our viewers. It's not a religious war. It has been going on for centuries, but it's simply a resistance against armed occupation.
Yes.
And for the most part, like you said, it is 100% nonviolent. You know, I shouldn't say
99%.
99% nonviolent.
With,
resistance.
again, the legitimacy to resist the
Right.
occupation by all means.
By international law,
According
it's
to
legal.
international. Yeah. So I guess that's why being in France was a great opportunity to interrogate myself, to see myself outside the box, to see how others look at me also, and to think how we can show this other image of Palestine, how we can say that we are human beings, we reclaim and we defend this humanity. And we are not born with genes of hatred or violence. Nobody is born with genes of hatred or violence. So as everybody who is facing an injustice, a continuous injustice, we resist to keep our humanity alive, our dignity, and seek our freedom. We have hope that the international community would move on. We had hope that the UN, which created this tragedy, move on. But unfortunately, day after day, the facts created by this occupation in the ground make the hope shrink little by little. I stayed 9 years in France, and I came back in 1994 thinking that Palestine was only waiting for me to save it. I finished my PhD in biological and medical engineering, deep in my work in theater, made a lot of exhibitions of painting, and then I returned, started working with my biology degree to earn my living and volunteering to train theater, painting until 1998, where with a group of friends I founded Ar-Ruwad. Ar-Ruwad means the pioneers in Arabic. And we started in my parents' house. We have 2 small rooms where we started with theater, with a philosophy that I call a beautiful resistance against the ugliness of occupation and its violence. Beautiful resistance starting with theater, because for me theater remains one of the most amazing, powerful, civilized, direct, truthful, and maybe non-politically correct ways to express yourself, to tell your story, your version of your story, and hopefully as a way to build the peace within, to be able to build it elsewhere. Because I believe if you are not truthful with yourself, you cannot be truthful with anybody. And if you are not in peace with yourself, how can you make peace with anybody? So the essence of it was to give possibilities in this population where 2/3 are very young people, how to give them the possibility to express themselves, to say what they want to say in the most beautiful, constructive way, and stay alive. And hopefully think that they can change the world and create miracles without the need to carry a gun and shoot everybody else, or explode themselves or burn themselves, but to stay alive. At the end of the day, we as parents or as human beings, we want to see our children grow up. We want to celebrate their lives and their successes. And when the time comes, they should be the ones walking in our funerals and not the other way around. No parents in the world want to live the day where they bury their children, even for the most noble cause. And no country in the world can be built on the corpses of its people. So that's why how to promote life and not death, how to inspire hope and not despair, how to create possibilities where everybody feels that he or she is important, that everybody is a change maker. And nobody has the right to say, I can't do anything, or it's too complicated, or it's hopeless. We simply don't have this luxury of despair. So we have to do what we have to do. If others join, that would be great. If others do not join, well, that will not be great. But again, it will not be an excuse to say nobody cares, so we'll close our doors and go home, or we can't do anything, but Mr. Obama will do it, or the Pope, or even God. Even God will not help those who do not help themselves. So that's why Ar-Ruwad started with this philosophy. With or without money, we do it. And it was a way to say that we are not a humanitarian cause. The Palestinians are not poor because they are lazy or don't have resources. This is a political cause. And the Palestinians are put into poverty by this illegal occupation, which deprives the people from the right to circulate freely, to import, to export, to manufacture, even to fall in love freely and to get married freely, with this segregation between Palestine 48, Gaza, West Bank,
Or to
Jerusalem,
get an education.
or to get an education, free movement or free circulation.
Like you said, you were lucky.
I was lucky.
But there are people who, I'm going to
unfortunately.
digress just a little bit here because I want our viewers to understand how difficult it is to even get an education. I mean, even those, and there are colleges in Palestine.
There are.
And there are colleges in Palestine, and they're good colleges. But if you live in one part of the country and want to go to, like, say, you know, you live in, well, Palestine is about the size of, the whole area is about the size of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So if you lived on the south side of Chicago and you wanted to go to a college in the northern part of Chicago, and you know, how many barriers are there between there and there?
This is one of the challenges. I mean, even you can put it between Iowa City and Coralville, which is really not that, but you might have 2, 3 checkpoints, and these volatile checkpoints, whenever the soldiers want to put, Israeli soldiers put these
Totally
checkpoints,
random.
and forbid the circulation. So that's why I think if the call was, if people wanted to support us financially or otherwise, it should not be an act of charity or pity, because otherwise this is more humiliating than the occupation itself. It should be an act of partnership. Donate your money or your effort or your volunteerism to create jobs, to build infrastructures, to help people keep their dignity, and not to transform them into beggars and charity actions, because otherwise, again, this is more humiliating than the occupation itself. So that's why
to invest in the future of Palestine.
That's true, and to invest in the future of all the generations to come. And this is one of the possibilities that people can feel part of our growth as well. As we develop, as we create possibilities for people, they are partners in helping for a better future in a developmental way and creative way, which keeps the dignity and defends the dignity of people. And that's why we have been trying to create a Friends of Ar-Ruwad in France, in the United States. We have partnership with Norwegian schools, which is one of the most amazing partnerships because it involves children. They are 15 to 18 years old. Every year, every student contributes like $50, and all the money goes to support a project. And every year they come, they see what we have done. Some of them come back in the summer as volunteers. So it is really an amazing opportunity for young people to go outside the box and see what change they can do in the world in a positive and constructive way, and in a way that helps, again, people keep their dignity. We started with theater, but of course not everybody wants to do theater. And when there was a period of incursions and curfews in the camp, the center couldn't just say we are a theater center, so we'll close our doors and until the occupation ends its incursions and curfews. And what I mean with curfew is that people are not allowed to leave their house even under the eyes of the soldiers. So people could sneak in moments where they are not there. So Arwad shifted into an emergency medical clinic, a media center, a school for supportive education program for children who have difficulties in learning, because sometimes it took 43 days, months during the year that the schools were closed and so on, especially between 2000 to 2004, 2005. So Arwad tried to respond to the needs of the community, even with the lack of resources, and we were all volunteers in that period until almost 2008. We have no employees. And so we started adding activities for children and young people to encourage them to come and not to stay in the streets, where in the streets they are in confrontation with the Israeli soldiers. And so some of them, unfortunately, become just numbers on list of martyrs or handicapped for the rest of their lives or perish in Israeli prisons. So we started adding these activities with Palestinian folkloric dance, photography, video, also to be behind the camera, not always in front of it. Show Palestine how we dream it, how we hope it will be, and not just all the misery that we are living in. And then music, singing with the choir, and so on. Then we started working with kindergartens, with the schools, with parents. We focused a lot on mothers and women, because I believe it's the women who change the world. So it was important to give these possibilities, even having their own space, with the first gym for women in a refugee camp, the first even football team of girls in a refugee camp. I believe if we build the peace within the women, we can build it in the family and in the community and in the whole world. And that's why women are the great change makers in the world. And then we started touring locally with a program we call Mobile Beautiful Resistance. So we have a van, we have trainers, theater, dance, photography, video, music, games, libraries, and we go all over the West Bank. And this is a way to connect with other Palestinian communities, see that we can train trainers who can follow up on their own communities as well, and exchange among us. But also it was a way to resist this Bantustanization and segregation of Palestinian communities one from each other. And so if the checkpoints were closed by these Israeli soldiers, we waited. If they remain closed, we came back the next day or the week after. But never say we can't do anything, so we remained happy, confined in our Bantustans and in our camps and so on. So that's why this was a challenging process. And we tried to connect all over the West Bank, from the south of Hebron to the north of Jenin. Last year, we reached 200 locations all over the West Bank, doing more than 400 activities, reaching more than 50,000 people, young people, and so on. And it is an important way to connect among us as Palestinians. And then we started thinking, why shouldn't we connect internationally as well? So we started touring internationally. I've been in Sweden, Denmark, France, Belgium, Austria, United States of America. And touring internationally is important because it's a way to see normal life in free countries, without checkpoints, without tear gas, without occupation soldiers. But also to connect among us as potential partners, not as potential enemies. See that we share a lot of things, and these similarities should bring us closer to each other. And see also that we have differences. And for me, difference is the most beautiful gift that God gave us, because it's a way to enrich us and not marginalize us and make us afraid from each other. And that's why, at the end of the day, we share and we defend the same values, whether we are Muslim or Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or Hindu or atheist or whatever we are. We are equally human beings, and we defend these values that we still talk about: justice, freedom, peace, equality, love. This is the essence of our humanity, and the heritage hopefully we can be proud to leave to our children and the generations to come. So that's why for me these values are not elastic. They do not change based on your realities on the ground or the dictation of this leader or that president. This is a heritage that we can be proud to leave to all the generations to come. A heritage hopefully where every day that comes will be more important and more beautiful than the day that goes. instead of just sitting down and complaining that everything is bad and it's always the fault of someone else. And that's why again and again I say everybody is important, everybody is a change maker. But touring internationally was also a way to make aware for our children and others that also injustice can exist everywhere in the world, even the biggest, richest countries in the world. When we were touring in the United States, we have different workshops, especially in Louisville, Kentucky, with Afro-American kids. In Paris, in French capital, we have also workshops. And in such neighborhoods, our children who come from refugee camps, I mean, you can feel that they are the worst situation to be born in a refugee camp. But even with that, they have talked about these children in Louisville, Kentucky, or in Paris, in France, that they are poorer than us. And it was important for me that again and again we realize that injustice exists everywhere somehow, and that we are equal partners to challenge these injustices and make change of these facts on the ground created by whoever, that children deserve better. Our children deserve better, and it's our responsibility to leave them a better heritage than the one we inherited. And it's our responsibility to do our work and not for politicians to do it, push them to do it. And miracles do not happen alone, so we need to provoke them to happen. So that's why we are always in this process of trying to provoking little miracles as much as we can with the friends of our word who are supporting financially with volunteers, organizing the tours, hosting us, inviting me to talk, and hopefully add more friends of our word to the circle that try to see hope and build this hope for all the generations to come and create these bridges among us as human beings. The civil society have moved hugely, and they have made much more progress than all the politicians in terms of not trying to be politically correct, or with this hypocrisy of responding to what the pressure of Zionists or Israel or whoever to just follow the orders and not to have an independence. For me as a Palestinian, with all the pain, sympathy and empathy to Jews and their suffering, we were not the cause of their suffering. So making us pay for the crimes of the Nazis or Europe or whoever is a burden that we cannot carry on our shoulders and say we are fine with it. Even if Jesus is born in Palestine, we cannot just turn our cheeks to every clack from everybody and say we are fine with it. Injustice is not something that can be accepted on any level. And the humiliation on a daily basis is not to be accepted on any level. And this violation of our humanity and our dignity that is still going on cannot be tolerated on any level. I am someone who have seen his family suffering from being refugees who lost everything. My parents should have 14 children, and they lost 10 of these 14 children. 4 girls and 6 boys died between 1948 to 1963, the year I was born. And I never knew these brothers and sisters. We are 4 brothers alive. I am the youngest. But with all this tragic destiny somehow, the heritage that my parents left us with, even with a just cause, if you practice violence, you lose part of your humanity. So that's why for me, doing this beautiful resistance or non-armed way of struggling against all these armed forces forced on us in one way or the other was a way to retain our humanity and not to be pushed in a corner where we always respond to violence by violence, and a way to save lives in all of this time of harassment and humiliation and despair, in a sense, and give our children possibilities to be promoter of positive and beautiful and non-armed change in the world. And so we cannot resolve everything by just killing each other. Every death of a human being is a loss for us as a humanity and a failure for us as a human beings not to save his or her life. And that's why when I see people in the street celebrating death or promoting death or promoting weapons and so on, it is again a way to say that we have a lot of work to do. This is not a way that we can build up humanity. It's a way to destroy what remains of our humanity and dignity. So here we are, 17 years later, started in 2 rooms. Now we have 3 floors. In 2005, we have the possibility through the United Nations Development Program to have 100,000 euros to start a new building. And of course, at that time, we needed space to do that building. So I guess it was the time for me to quit my paying jobs in biology and to think how we can raise funds and build these partners of Arwad in different countries to raise these funds. So we started with Friends of Arwad in France, Belgium, United States, who helped us with funding the purchase of the rent of a space in the camp, and then following up with these 100,000 euros to add 60,000 more to build 2 floors. And with the Norwegian children, we have built an additional floor with a lot of equipment and so on, which came over the years since 2009 till today. It's miraculous sometimes. It has a lot of ups and downs because we don't have any constant funding that comes. And unfortunately, with the situation in Palestine, with these continuous tragedies, incursions, aggressions against Gaza and destruction of Gaza, people try to vehicle it always as a humanitarian cause, and then, of course, sending food, trying to rebuild demolished houses, which is, of course, a priority. But at the same time, culture, education, arts are the last to be thought about, even in the biggest, richest countries as well. The first to be marginalized in any budgets are arts, culture, and so on. When we look at our national budget, even in Palestine, which is, of course, by donor countries, the United States, European Commission, and so on, 60 to 70% of our national budget goes to what is called security. And of course, it's not my security that we are talking about, because the Palestinian police power is limited within the areas that is called Area A, which is under the Palestinian control. But even with that, if there is an Israeli incursion by the army, the Palestinian police cannot intervene. They cannot intervene in 60% of the West Bank because it is supposed to be Area C, which is under full Israeli control. Security, administration, and so on. And nobody can do anything without a permission from the Israelis to build a house or cultivate your olive trees and so on. So when the settlers, Israeli colonizers, attack these villages, again, nobody can protect them from the Palestinian Authority side. So 60 to 70% goes to what is supposed to be security. And 1.3 per thousand of our national budget goes to culture, to the Minister of Culture. And to make it in numbers, the 1.3 per thousand means like it's about $3 million to $4 million a year for the culture in Palestine, which is a ridiculous amount. Culture is our gate, our window for the world to exchange, to build these bridges among us as human beings, to break the stereotypes that, and this continuous brainwashing in the media, that we need to create enemies. And at some times it was the Jews, at some time it's black people, at one time now it's the Muslims and Arabs and so on. We share a lot more than we are different in, and these differences should be exploited to make a beautiful exchange and build upon this difference and not be sign of marginalization and so on. So that's why I guess we have a lot of work to do with each other, on each other, and improve the possibilities we can create for our children to meet, to interact, to look for a better future for themselves and for the generations to come.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful project. I'm really impressed with your philosophy and your emphasis on children. And just, could you tell us a little bit more about the partnerships that you create with children in other countries?
Yeah, I guess one of this amazing opportunity with the Norwegian schools, for example, they came to visit us in 2008, a delegation of 4 Norwegian schools, about 40 kids with teachers, headmasters. They started a partnership with Shatila refugee camp in Lebanon, in fact. And so at a certain time, they wanted to have their own project, a project that they carry on for years and not just responding to an emergency call for a tsunami or a hunger strike or a hunger tragedy or an epidemic and so on. So they started with Shatila refugee camp, and every time when they come, there is events that are organized, dance shows, exchange. They have also their own performances, and they build with each other. They exchange emails, Facebooks, and so on. There are some exchange of videos, photos, photo exhibitions, and it's an amazing experience to build possibilities. We have at a certain time for 4 years exchange with Vermont in Burlington schools among our children, and these children sending letters and talk about their culture, their clothes, their music, and so on. We have with Latin America, we had with Luxembourg, and with Luxembourg it was an amazing experience also because it was a photo project where children document their life from their house, the way to school, the school, and so on. So it's a discovery of all the different things, that what people eat, their clothes, their shoes, their family, their music, what they learn in the school, what is on their road to schools, and so on. So you can see differences between children in Aida camp, children in Luxembourg, and children in Jerusalem, in the eastern part of Jerusalem. These were the 3 partners who were there. And at the end, there was a book about these photos, and there was photo exhibition, which was opened in Luxembourg, then came to Bethlehem and to Jerusalem. And we have some of our children going to Luxembourg for the exhibition and some from Jerusalem. Unfortunately, the coming back from Luxembourg to Palestine wasn't easy. Families were afraid to send their children. And I mean, with all the horrors that we see, it's safe, it's still safe for people to come and walk in the streets of Bethlehem and in different cities.
It is.
In
I've been there
Palestine.
myself. I know.
Yeah. So this is part of it. With the children, I mean, there is a lot of possibilities. There have been discussions on other levels of, again, working on co-productions. So in fact, this year and last year, we have been working on training a group in theater in Nabi Saleh, and with an exchange program with young people in France. So they have sent us a text for a play that they are doing, and we send them a text of the play we are doing.
Wonderful.
And both group created the 2 plays, and we performed each one the 2 plays during the same day. And it was on the 1st of May for the opening of Nabi Saleh Village Festival, which has been stopped since 15 years because of the continuous attacks with the settlers and Friday demonstrations on that village, which has its land shrinking little by little since many years now. So again, it is an empowerment on different levels, exchange of photos, videos, letters.
How old are these children?
They are between 10 to 17 years old. And there are younger people on the 8, 12, and some families started bringing their children, in fact, from the United States or from France and Europe. Some have students exchange, which bring their students to come even from the Quakers School, Guilford, in Indiana. They bring a delegation or 2 every year. And it's an amazing opportunity of exchange and building these bridges among us.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to you later about building one with here in Iowa City. But we don't want to forget to talk about your connection to Iowa City is
Yeah.
with a Lisa Schlesinger, who is a professor at the University of Iowa in theater. And can you tell me how you guys met? I know you wrote a play together, but I don't know how
Yeah.
you first met.
Well, Lisa is also a playwright, and in 2002, I have a good friend called Naomi Wallace, who is also a playwright from Louisville, Kentucky, but she lives in England. Her sisters and mother were among us during the incursions of 2002, between the 30th of March to the 12th of May 2002. And so they stayed with us during these hard times when the Israelis invaded all over Bethlehem and there was a curfew, and it was a hard period, and the siege of the Nativity Church and imprisonment of families and some of the freedom fighters at that time within the church. So Carla, the eldest sister of Naomi, talked about me to her, and then Naomi came with a theater director called David Gothard, and later on she organized the delegation of 6 American playwrights. So there was Tony Kushner, Lisa Schlesinger, Betty Shamia, Robert O'Hara, Kia Cortron, and Naomi, who came and stayed almost 10 days all over the West Bank, touring, meeting with theater people, trying to create possibilities how we can work together and how we can support Palestinian theater one way or the other. And so in 2004, there was a possibility to commission a theater play from the Guthrie Theater. And so Naomi proposed that Lisa and I work with her on creating a play. And that was the start of this beautiful collaboration. They came twice to Palestine, and we have a lot of work which is done on putting the general structure of the play, then dividing scenes by scenes and saying who will write this scene and who will write this scene. Then we go all over each other scenes, and so at the end we didn't know who wrote what.
Yeah.
Because it was a beautiful exchange, open. Nobody has this ego to say, well, this is my text, nobody touches it, and so on. It was an amazing opportunity. And so we kept on going with this collaboration. Unfortunately, the Guthrie did not produce the play. They found that it was unbalanced and not diplomatically correct. And our point was, since one theater is about diplomacy and being politically correct, theater is about hard causes and posing the hard questions, but not about giving answers or try to represent the two sides of the story on any level. This is not a debate, this is not a political discussion. If you want to create another play, create another play to respond to this play.
Right.
And then we discovered also that we share more than that. We discovered that all of us, the 3 of us, have each one a daughter who was born in the 9th of May, with different ages, of course. So it was an amazing chance, but since then we kept this relation, and we hope to make a trilogy now that the play is published by Broadway Publishing Company in New York, and it's available now to be purchased. And yesterday in the event we have seen an excerpts of scenes.
Yes, and it's wonderful. Yeah. And what did you say the name of it was?
21 Positions.
21 Positions. And what does the title represent?
Well, in fact, it was taken from another story written by a Palestinian writer called Rajesh Hadam. And during the siege of 2002, it was also in Ramallah. And so an Israeli army unit occupied the house of his brother. And of course, they put them in a room and so on. And then, as the siege ended, and the officers and these Israeli soldiers are leaving, the officer looked at the brother of Rajesh Hadam and said to him, "Do you think that these guys who are shooting in any way can hurt us or win one day? We are trained on 21 shoot to kill positions." So it comes from here, and then of course they probably also the other sexual meaning of the positions. So I try to couple in a sense this politics of the occupation to be well prepared and shoot people in really planned way in a sense, and not just shoot in the air as our freedom fighter mostly do in a sense, without real training in whatever. It is related to America as well, because the main characters are of Palestinian origin, but they were born in the United States. And one of them decided to return, and all this journey of discovery of Palestine for these young people.
Sounds wonderful. I can't wait to see it. Did you say it has been produced by?
It has been produced in 2008 by Fordham University in Lincoln Center in New York.
Oh, wonderful.
And it has some good reviews. And of course, for people who work in theater, not all of them will ask about being politically correct and balanced in their presentation of any story.
Right.
But we hope that it would be going more and more in different theaters. And now, as it's published, I guess it would be an opportunity for more professional productions for it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it sometime.
It's always a hard thing when a play concerns Palestine that some of the theater have the courage to do this because of continuous attacks against it, as if you are attacking or criticizing Israel, that you are attacking Jews and so on. And for me, even with living under occupation, Israel is not representative of Jews or their morals or their suffering. It exploits all of this to justify all the crimes that they are doing. And I know a lot of among our Jewish friends in the United States or in France or different countries are not supportive of this occupation and system of ethnic cleansing and segregation and so on. We have here different groups who are doing amazing jobs, like Jewish Voices for Peace and United States in the occupation campaign.
Yeah, it's called a U.S. campaign to end the occupation, to end the Israeli occupation.
And different groups like this. We have some groups in Israel itself, like Zochrot, and Breaking the Silence movement, with these soldiers present their testimonies of how horrible things have been going on. So there is awakening among the Jewish population within Israel itself or within European countries or the United States. It's not big enough until now to make a change within the politics of Israel or within the politics of the country. On the other side, you have these extremist groups who try to demonize everybody who dare to criticize Israel, and presenting them as anti-Semites, or if they are Jewish, self-hating Jews, and so on. Or even sometimes I heard anti-Semite Jews. So it's really amazing how things can be deformed on one way or the other. But it is always legitimate to criticize a country, to criticize a president, to criticize a regime and a system. And we are talking about democracies, and we are talking about freedom of expression. So I guess this is valid for everybody. And this not be pointed as whatever you say, this means that you are anti-Semite or you are anti-American or you are anti-Muslim or anti-Arab in the way you are discussing rights and values.
One of the things that I was wondering about is you talk about Al-Rawad, and working with all the children, and I'm wondering how effective it is. I mean, as these children grow
Yeah.
up, do they still have this philosophy of love and peace and nonviolent resistance?
I think more than 90% continue to have it.
Wow.
And I'm proud to say that among the children who have been passing through these 17 years in Arwad, some of them started while they were 6, 7, 8 years old. They finished doctors, engineers, lawyers, dentists, pharmacists, and professional actors or media journalists with diploma recognized from the Ministry of Media and so on. Some of them came back as volunteers in Arwad, as half of our employees, which we started employing since 2008. Actually, we have 19, 13 full-timers and 6 part-timers. Half of them are among our graduates, and some of them are on the board of Arwad. So it's really an amazing opportunity. Some of them joined other organizations or created their own initiatives in other places, especially for those who came from other refugee camps and so on. So we are proud to say that this had made a change, and people are committed even in times when we cannot pay salaries. They remain and don't make strikes and so on, because they are committed to the message, to the philosophy of beautiful resistance, and they are sharing in helping our cause, our giving possibilities for these children and young people to grow in a safe environment as much as possible, providing them this space to come in and to save them from the street and from these daily confrontation with Israeli soldiers. But of course, it's an ongoing occupation, so I can't say we can guarantee safety 100%.
Right,
No
right.
place is safe.
How many children have you served?
During the year, we serve locally within Arwad, that people come to Arwad from Aida camp and all the neighboring areas, 6,000 to 8,000 people. And with the mobile programs, we have one of the programs which is called the Play Bus, where we manufacture games and go all over the West Bank, reaching schools, kindergartens, community centers, open spaces just for children to have fun. They play and try also to work on education, that children and teachers meet and play together, so that we break this unilateral unidirectional relation that teachers dictate children what to learn, and we want children to know all the answers in the world but don't know how to ask a question or how to have critical thinking. So through games and playing, we try to promote this creativity and imagination and the questioning and critical way of thinking. So this is a program that goes all around and reaches 30 to 50, 60,000 during the year, depending on the funding we have, because, I mean, it's costly. It's one of the most costly programs because it tours all around the West Bank.
Like I said, it seems like an incredible program. I wonder if you have ever thought about the possibility, or if you would ever, maybe it's a stretch, to going into Gaza and working with the children there. They're, you know, as you know, they're suffering great deal.
Well, that is a dream, and it's still a dream. Unfortunately, going to Gaza is only passes through two ways: either by Israeli permits, which are completely almost impossible, or with to go to Jordan, then to Egypt, and back to Gaza, which is again, since many years it has been impossible with the Egyptian government opening possibilities for people to go in. So it's a complete challenge to go to Gaza. But we have some projects that we have done in partnership with partners in Gaza. So some of the projects we have funding for, part of them were done in Gaza, and we have partners in Gaza who are doing, and of course they have the competency to do that. Especially with the training theater, dance, for painting and drawing, and some even in creative writing and so on. And some of these stories also, which came from Gaza, we have done these stories on stage. And the last production was last year, a play called War, which we took these stories from young people who have written their experiences in Gaza. And we have also done that in 2009, 2010 with an initiative from Ashtar Theatre in Ramallah, who have worked also with a group in collecting monologues through their creative workshops program. They have children writing stories, and there has been more than 50 productions in 50 different countries of these monologues, or some of them.
So you
we
have
been part of
partners
that.
in Gaza?
We have partners in Gaza.
Wonderful.
There is different groups in Gaza, and between 2009 to 2013 I was the president of the Palestinian Theatre League. So of course I have been in communication with local Palestinian theatre groups in the West Bank, and of course the ones in Gaza, and we try to build connection with other theatre groups internationally. It's hard. Again, it's hard because even locally there is hardship to work with each other because of these checkpoints and this segregation system
Right.
between us as Palestinians. But we go on. I mean, a lot of time it's individuals who create their own initiatives. When I look at our theater productions, we probably have 2 or 3 times some funding to create a theater play. Otherwise, all the productions were zero budgets, in a sense, that came from outside.
So when you communicate with the groups in other countries, do you use the computer a lot? Do you send videos
Yes,
to each other?
we do
Skype.
Skype. We do also exchange through Facebook and emails and so on. We have a lot of people coming to see what is happening in Palestine. I mean, Marina, who directed the play yesterday, was in Palestine. So people come to see what is going on. Some of them have heard about us or saw us in the tours, international tours in these different countries, or interested in this beautiful resistance philosophy. So, and with other theaters, it's also the same. The Palestinian theater has been moving around. Many troops have toured internationally, won prizes, and participated in international theater festivals in different countries. So there is a thriving theater, despite the fact that there is not much funding for theater, in fact, in Palestine.
Yeah.
And as I said, the Minister of Culture does not have the capacity.
Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe if we have peace there some way, what do you see? I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to have to get to the funding, but do you have any hope for peace in the future?
Well, as I said, we don't have the luxury of despair, so there is always hope that people will wake up one day or the other. And when you look to history, occupations came and go, and the people stayed. Palestine is a country of multiplicity and diversity where people can live together, like a lot of other countries. But we have no possibility to say, I am a Muslim, I can't imagine Palestine only for Muslims, or only for Christians, or only for Jews. Everybody can have a claim, but nobody has the monopoly to say it's ours and not everybody else to the sea or whatever. So that's why the hope I see is that people can see the potential of living together as equal citizens rather than superior and inferior, because injustice cannot be accepted in any way or the other. I see Palestine, as always it has been, a country where Muslim, Christian, Jews, whatever, can live together as equal citizens based on values and rights, not based on compromises or hypocrisy, or you have what you have, we have what we have, so let's live together. This is, again, not a religious war, it's a political colonization war. And occupations, colonizations cannot be tolerated by anyone at any level. And that's why when people talk about the 2 states or 30 states or whatever states, I mean, there is no reality on the ground that let possibility for these 2 states to survive. And there is no division on the ground that make it possible really to make this happen. So it's only people can live together in a state where they are equal citizens, not segregated and teared apart by these political hallucinations that we see on the table from time to time, but nobody make any effort to make it respected, whatever agreed upon in any way.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, and we have mentioned that you, one of the ways we can work with you and be partners is by creating groups in the United States, like Friends of Al-Rawad,
yes.
Around the United States, and those friends can work with each other either in the classroom or, you know, of course, sending funds. And we can find out more about your work, your Palestinian website, which is probably in Arabic, correct?
It is in 3 languages, in fact. There is Arabic, English, and the French.
So we can actually look at that website, and we'll have that up on the screen. And then there's a Al-Rawad USA.
There is Al-Rawad USA, which is a 501c3
.org.
A charity organization, alrawadusa.org. And it has been created since 2009, so people can make donations and receive the tax deduction for their donations. And it has been going on with people who try to make some change, with, of course, its ups and downs, in the sense that, again, it's hard to have projects and have people just doing that 24 hours a day. That's why we hope to build a network of Friends of Al-Rawad in different states who can hopefully strategize and plan for 2-3 fundraisers every year, or have members just sending monthly contributions or and so on. And it's hard to have deep pockets on the Palestinian cause, so we count on people to be partners and make us feel that we are not forgotten, that what we are doing is meaningful for them, for their children, and the generations to come. At the end of the day, we want to celebrate lives and not deaths. And we want to be proud in responding to our children one day or the other when they come and look us in the face and say, what did you do to make a change? What heritage are you leaving us? Shall again we fade in shame and thought and say, I thought the president will do it? Or shall be proud to say, we have done something that we are proud of, even if it is a small thing?
So we can, people can invest in the future of the Palestinian children. One way, I assume you have buttons on both your websites to contribute, and then also for those who don't have computers, there we will also have an address that will appear at the end of the show. I don't imagine we have any very much time left. What are your last words? What do you want my audience to remember?
I'm thankful again for your invitation and for this interview. I think that nothing can happen if we don't act. And we need people to act and not react to catastrophes and emergencies. It's important that we help people keep their dignity and be part of this response to an action on the long term.